Today is my last day in and around Perth before we continue our trip down the coast of WA. Later on, I'll be stopping in at Wandering Distillery. But first, I'm back in the Swan Valley where no visit would be complete without a solid session at Bailey Brewing. A recent addition to the Swan Valley, it's now established itself as the place to come for a family-friendly experience. Easy drinking craft beer, simple fresh food, and an epic playground. First up, I'm speaking to Steve, who started the brewery with his brother and father. So Steve, you're the director here at Bailey Brewing Co. Tell me about how it all got started.
We're all electricians. Me and my brother had enough of being sparkies and we wanted to do something different. Turns out we like beer and like hanging out with each other, and long story short, we opened up a brewery.
But some people might have just opened up a bar. You went the extra mile of having a brewery, a bar, and an entertainment area.
People that know us, Baileys, we take it a little bit too fast. It looks pretty good.
Yeah. And what about the concept behind it? It's such a relaxed, welcoming vibe here.
Our idea was to build somewhere that we would ourselves like to go. To put it short, we like a playground for kids, nice open area to run around, TVs to watch the footy on, and of course nice fresh beer brewed by ourselves.
I can see there's some interesting trucks around and there's a lot of bee signs. Can you tell me a little bit about what they're about?
Yeah, well that all comes to the history of the site. The previous owner was a guy called Toppy Gear, who was famous in the Swan Valley. Basically, he ran a bee hive place here and sold honey. We even made a couple of beers with honey in them just to keep the history of the site.
As a little nod to him.
As a little nod to him, yep. Old Toppy, who's still alive, and we met him a couple of times, great guy.
Nice. And what about the trucks then?
Yeah, the trucks, they were on the site when we bought the block, and they sort of came with the block, which Toppy collected. We decided to use them in the playground, which is pretty cool, but the kids do destroy them. That's all part of it.
I bet the kids love playing around in them.
They certainly do. Yeah.
It's pretty unique.
Yeah, no, it's great idea.
Speaking of great ideas, let's head into the brewery. Before tasting, I'm chatting to head brewer Damien. So Damo, you're head brewer here at Bailey Brewing Co.
Yep.
So you must know this space intimately.
Yes.
It is your workshop.
It is, yep. So I've been working here since June 2020.
And how long have you been brewing?
Altogether, about 10 years in the professional world.
Yeah.
And before that, I was doing a bit of homebrew at home.
So why are you so passionate about beer making and beer craft?
What's not to be passionate about? Involvement with all the ingredients, where they're from, get to make beer, get to taste beer, which I love, and you get to see people enjoy it out at the bar as well.
That's the best bit.
Yeah.
And what about the recipes and the ingredients? Do you have an idea about it before you get going, or is it sort of experimental?
A bit of both for that one. Some beers we make are a little bit experimental, but generally we have a fair idea of what we're doing before we make one, so that we've got a bit of a recipe bank that we can pull from when we need to. There's a little bit of trial and error all the time.
Yeah.
When we have so many beers that we have available, we can just tweak each one when we want to brew something new, rather than brew something completely different with all new ingredients.
And why do you think people really enjoy coming back to Bailey's Brewing and trying the beers? What do you think keeps them coming back?
The venue for sure. Obviously I've got to say the beers are great, but the venue is fantastic. The gardens are great. The place is huge. It's a great place to relax and drink beer and watch sport.
So what's the difference between when you opened to now in terms of how much you're producing?
So when we opened, we're probably, apart from filling everything up, we brewed once a week, maybe twice a week. And now that we're getting really busy into summer, 2 years down the track, we're brewing at least 2 times a week, nearly 3 times, 4 times a week sometimes.
Yeah, just to try and keep up with that demand.
Yep.
I think it's time for a beer then. So Damo's lining up a paddle.
We've got 4 of my favourite beers right here. Ones I not only like to brew, but to drink as well. So the first one we have is the Draft, which is our only lager. Nice and clear, and it's been lagered for at least 6 weeks. Sometimes with, sometimes without the yeast, and gives it a beautiful rounded flavour and very approachable beer for everybody.
Nice. All right, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh yeah, that's not my dad's lager. That is a nice crisp lager, real smooth. I like that.
It's lovely, yeah. I love that beer. So good.
beautiful in the sun.
Yep, very good, very good.
Back.
The next one we have is your number 3, which is our limited release Swan Valley Old,
Oh yeah.
which is a German ale. Lots of malty flavours, bitter, dry, and tastes like bread and bitterness. It's delicious.
Who doesn't love bread? Yeah, I like that. That crispness at the end as well.
Yeah, it's very nice.
It's real.
Very well balanced.
Yeah, definitely. Bailey Brewing Co. It's the kind of place where as much thought has been put into the grounds and the atmosphere as the beer. So the grounds here are really gorgeous. Who looks after them?
Yeah, well, that's my brother Daniel. He's a green thumb and he loves his lawn. It's quite a big block. We need it to look pretty good all year round.
Yeah,
which is hard work, but we get there.
Yeah, I bet. I
Yep.
don't think that would be easy. This green space is such a nice option for people to come out to. People bring picnic blankets and make a day of it.
Yeah, no, there's lots of greenery that the kids can run around and kick a ball. We've even got some goalposts that we put up so the kids can have a kick for goal,
Cute.
which is something I like doing myself, actually.
Yeah. So people can come out here, have a picnic, but what about their functions? Or do you even do weddings here?
Yeah, no, we do all sorts of functions and we have a dedicated space for weddings. So there's a nice arbour there for couples to tie the knot.
So you can have your wedding here and then get your food and drink looked after by Bailey's.
Absolutely, yeah, no, we do all the catering and the drinks and all that.
Nice.
So it's your all-round package here for a wedding.
I think I should drop a hint to my fiance.
Absolutely.
Let's get back to the beer. I'm learning a little bit more about the brewing process from Damo, the head brewer. So what is going on here?
Okay, so this is our 12 hectolitre brew house, which we put together over a few days back in 2020.
So you said you put this together with the team?
Yes.
Wow.
A lot of it we put together. Came in pieces like Meccano or Lego with
Yeah.
instructions.
You had a good time figuring it out.
Basically, we can brew any beer that we want up to a certain volume, say 2,500 litres. So once it's finished brewing in there, we'll transfer it over to a fermenter and add the yeast and wait for it to finish.
And how long would that whole process take?
For certain beers, 2 weeks, and other beers, 6 weeks.
Where does the grain that's in the silo come from?
So outside we have a silo that holds 20,000 tonnes of malted barley, and all that barley comes from Australia. From the silo, it comes via an auger and gets put in the mash tun. So we don't have to manually move any of it, which is fantastic.
So really cutting down those transport costs. You're right here.
That's right.
Damo may be a man of few words, but his beers speak for themselves. And he's got a couple more to show me before I head off, starting with the red ale.
Red ale is an American style red ale, a little bit stronger, comes in at 5.8% and has a bit of a finish of American hops and malt.
I do like a red. So it's real smooth too, isn't it?
That's one
almost
of the beers.
creamy.
Yes, creamy, yep. One of the beers we've won a few awards with.
I can see why.
Yeah, thanks. And last but not least is our Hazy IPA. This is our most popular beer by miles. It's strong, hoppy, and it's very approachable for everyone to drink.
And do you think that's why it's so popular?
It's trending at the moment with everybody, so
Yeah.
everybody loves hazy IPAs.
Just a thing to drink.
Yeah,
I'm sure yours is pretty special.
it's quite tasty.
Yeah, it's nice and bright.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the time in general they get referred to as juicy or breakfast juice kind of things. There's a lot of tropical fruit flavours in there that remind you of breakfast juice without the sugary sweetness.
Yeah.
The yeast has a reaction with the dry hops that we use and creates a bit of stable haze in the beer, which gives it a little bit of mouthfeel as well.
Yeah, it's opposed to the other ones that don't
Yeah.
have that reaction.
Yeah. We use a bit of wheat malt and rolled oats and rolled wheat in there, which gives it a bit more protein.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
And that contributes to the haze as
To
well?
the haze, yeah.
How often do you do new releases and how long do they stay around for?
We'll try and do them every few months or coincide with a birthday or time of year, a seasonal release like a winter stout. It's what our Swan Valley Old was brewed for winter. Usually hang around for about 2 or 3 months, and as soon as they're gone, they're gone.
One time, and do you have fun coming up with new ideas for them?
Absolutely, yeah. That's part of what makes brewing interesting,
Yeah.
or more interesting than most jobs. And our next beer, which is being fermented for our birthday celebration, is a Australian sparkling ale. which should be very good.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that one.
Yeah, me too. I'll have to come back for it.
For sure.
All right, so now I've got to choose a favourite, which is difficult, but I think I'm going to go with the red ale. So, Damo, can I get a pint of the red ale?
Sure, no problem.
Thank you very much for walking me through these.
Anytime.
So I've got my red ale, I've got just a little bit of food, and I've had a great time here at Bailey Brewing Co. I'll see you soon on Last Drinks, Western Australia. As we wandered down the coast, it seemed only appropriate that we stop here at the Wandering Distillery in Fremantle. Born on the Mornington Peninsula in Victoria and now relocated to Western Australia, the aptly named Wandering Distillery is a small, tiny even, family-owned distillery punching far above its weight. I'm meeting the owner Wade to talk all things gin. Thank you so much for having me here, Wade.
My pleasure.
I'm very excited to explore the distillery. Is this where you distill?
Yeah.
And the whole process start to finish?
We do the whole thing. And frequently, this guy does the whole thing. So,
Okay.
King of menial tasks.
And how did you begin?
We had a two-car distillery, which two-car garage, cars removed. A distillery in Victoria, you can residentially license. Coming back to WA, you can't do that. So we had to grow. We grew sevenfold in our footprint, and then thought, holy cow, we'll never fill this. And then a few weeks later, thought, holy cow, we need more space. We bottle here, we label here. We package it up and we send it out from here. So pretty much everything.
HQ.
Yeah,
Well, I'd love to go have a little peek at your still over there.
Let's do it.
Let's go.
let's go.
So Wade, as head distiller, this must be your favourite place to come.
Yeah, it is. It's. I joke that my wife's the one with the real job, and I just come here and have a bit of fun and
Play
learn
around.
some pretty cool stuff. So
That's
yeah.
amazing. Well, it smells great. What's going on in here?
So today we're distilling our Nomad gin, but won a gold medal within 3 weeks of us launching it, so we're really happy with that. And it's really, I say, a quintessentially Australian dry gin in that its citrus comes from Geraldton wax, there's samphire and sea parsley for a bit of saltiness, and native thyme. So we created that in conjunction with our friends at Tucker Bush. People taste it, they frequently say, I'm down the beach. It's this memory from when I was a kid, it's that, whatever, so it's kind of cool.
Quintessential. I've never heard anything made with Geraldton wax before.
It wasn't until you started messing around with it that it became really obvious. And then you went, oh, right, that's that smell from when I was 7, 8,
Yeah.
15, 30, whatever.
And how many experimentations on the amounts did it take you to get to this final recipe?
Yeah, different gins, different amounts. So sometimes you start really close to where you think you want to be, and other times you blame certain botanicals for giving a flavour, and you get rid of them, and then you realise you've got to apologise to that botanical because it wasn't its fault, it was probably yours or something else. It's one of those things. Failure's fun in a distillery because you're doing things in small batches. At worst case, you've got something that's just not perfect for what you're looking for. It's never bad.
And what's boiling here?
So basically we macerate juniper for a period of time, and for 4 of our gins it's the same amount of time. For our naval strength gin it's a lot longer.
Okay.
And then we transfer everything to the still. So there's juniper and alcohol in there, or an alcohol solution, and basically distillation is all about separating a liquid into its component parts based on boiling temperature. So water boils at 100, alcohol boils at just above 78.3. So the first things you have coming over is alcohol, in our case with juniper in it. And then here we have our vapor infusion basket or gin basket, where we have all of our other botanicals. So in the case of this gin, there's a truckload of juniper in there, and more juniper than we ever use in our other gins. And in here we have those other botanicals, so the Geraldton wax, the samphire, sea parsley, native thyme, amongst other things. Most of my gins have rosemary in it, just because we find that rosemary really rounds out flavours really nicely. So what happens here, steam passing over up through those botanicals, so it's juniper and alcohol effectively here, and through here it picks up the other flavours from the other botanicals, passes over, and then we have a condenser that converts that steam back to a liquid, and we collect that distillate. And
Yeah, and I can smell that. It smells amazing.
Yes. Yeah, it does.
So at this stage, it's a distillate?
Yeah, and at the end of the run, that'll be way too high for what we bottle at. So all we do to get that down is we have a reverse osmosis water treatment system that strips out the sort of mineralised content of Perth water, and then we add that to proof down effectively, or dilute down to whatever bottling strength. So it tastes great at that, but that's not what we put out to market, because there'd be a limited marketplace for that.
Very, very small amounts.
So this will end up being 41.2% once we've proofed it down. And when you do that, you sort of have, I always find it, the second you do it, it tastes slightly more harsh than it will in a couple of days. So sort of everything has to recombine back together. So we give it time to rest for a few days and then bottle it about 5 days. And we've always joked that coming in the morning to bottle at 7:30 and tasting alcohol to check that it's the right thing is professionalism in my space rather than what other people would probably have to call it.
It must keep you going and so interested because you've got all these variables you can play around with.
Yeah, there's something in the order of 20,000 native Australian botanicals. So if you think about that, we'll probably never distill all of them. And lemon myrtle is actually the most citral thing in the world. So 13 times-ish more citral than a lemon. And so you think about Australians when we go travelling, people say we're bold and, happy to try new things. And basically our botanicals seem to replicate that, or we replicate them.
While we're here, might as well have a cheeky taste. So at this point in the process, obviously it's not anywhere near the finished product. No. But when you're testing here, what kind of things are you looking out for?
I guess we're just checking that it's along the path that we want it to be at the moment, and various flavours will come across at different points in the distillation process. I mean, by all means, you're welcome to try some.
I would. And when you taste...
So we're early doors at the moment. This is a lot higher ABV than what we'll ultimately put out to market.
Okay, so it's not something that I'm going to want to scull back.
No,
it's a delicate sip.
Yeah, we're refined.
Well, it smells amazing.
So there's still some juniper-y content there, and there's a few of the other botanicals starting to come
You
through.
can taste a bit of the fire, but also in there is that junipers, and some of those botanicals are really lifting up.
Yeah, once we proof it down and let it rest and everything else that comes out, and it's a completely different drink because everything's in there, but it's really soft and mellow.
Yeah. I mean, even though this is, quite strong,
80%, yeah.
I can still taste it. I think this will end up like a very delicious gin.
Yeah?
Yeah, because it smells great.
We can try the end product.
That would be wonderful. I'd love that. Off to the bar then. So we saw how it was made. I'd love to experience the final product.
Yeah, that's what this side of the distillery is for.
Oh,
so
lovely.
We can do that. So this is our signature gin. Juniper, coriander, sweet orange peel, lemon myrtle, so citrus from those three. A bit of cassia, a bit of black pepper for a bit of spice, and rosemary and angelica root. So they're the botanicals in this gin. It was the first gin we ever launched.
Yeah.
By all means, have a taste. I love people to taste our gins neat. Then if you love it, you've got great quality spirit. The other requirement for all of our gins is they have to drink well across the tonics.
Okay.
So think of any name and insert it, and it's going to work there.
Good.
And because that way you've got good quality spirit that's versatile, and then you can go with reckless abandon into the cocktail universe and have some fun.
And you said this was the first gin you ever made.
First one we released, and the only one we had for about 18 months because of the circumstance of starting, moving, restarting, relicensing and all those sorts of things.
And what was your main objective with this signature gin?
So I wanted something that had a little bit of that spiciness. I wanted something that wasn't in any way going to be associated with others that were in the market, so something unique. And the cassia and black pepper sort of helped out in that regard, giving cassia as a cinnamon derivative, and it gives you that sort of Christmassy vibe at times. So we will have husbands and wives, and the one party will be getting the citrus and the other will be getting the cinnamon, and they'll argue till they're blue in the face as to who's right. But it genuinely could be that one's had fish and the other's had a burger, and who knows?
Yeah.
Their palates are aligned to certain flavours, but in any event, it drinks particularly well neat. I drink it frequently just over ice, as I do with all of our gins.
Well, that's enough to get me pretty interested. So, cheers. Oh, yeah, that is really unique. Very delicious, very drinkable,
Yeah.
even neat.
43%, and you wouldn't know it. You know?
Dangerously not know it.
Yeah.
It's really nice. I can definitely taste those pepper notes that are popping up, especially in the aftertaste.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yep, yep.
but very smooth.
Yeah, and when we pair that, we can pair it with, you know, an aromatic tonic and a slice of grapefruit.
Let's give it a go. You can't go wrong with a G&T, and grapefruit makes for a delicious twist to the timeless classic. And what does the tonic do to the gin's flavour profile?
So this tonic has a bit of Angostura bark in it. So if you think Angostura bitters, it just pairs really nicely with the cassia, the pepper, and makes this a really cracking G&T. But if you have any other tonic, Australian made, English made, whatever, then it's going to work with this gin, without a doubt.
So good. Oh, yeah, that is a really refreshing drink.
Yeah.
What's next?
So what's next? This is our Odyssey gin. So it's a gin that I had existing in my head when we were in Victoria. Didn't get to make it there, got back here, too busy to make it for a period of time. Eventually got around to making it as the world was going into lockdown. And so I called it Odyssey because it had lived in my brain 2 states. And then eventually, as we were going into creating it, we went into lockdown and a global pandemic. So I thought, you've had quite the life. I love the book, The Odyssey, and I thought it had quite the Odyssey already. So we called it Odyssey. Our mural creator here, Jerome Davenport, was really keen to do the reverse labels, so he did that. And subsequently, we've won print awards for our labels.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
The labels match the quality of the gins.
Yeah. So the gin's award-winning, the labels are award-winning. The citrus here is finger lime and lemon myrtle, which are both Australian natives. And as I said before, native Australian botanicals are quite bold generally. I didn't want an overly citrusy gin with nothing else. So to get the depth in there, we distilled with hemp seeds. And the hemp seeds add in an earthy tone and kind of texturally a creaminess, which, but again, super versatile. Soda water, a slice of orange. So,
All right,
yeah,
cheers.
It's really soft.
So soft in
Yeah.
the mouth,
Yeah.
and yeah, just a really gentle way down. But I can definitely taste there is that little bit of an earthiness, that nuttiness coming through
Yeah.
gently, but definitely those nice citrus flavors are
Yeah.
really nice high up on top.
Yeah, it's a good fun, any day,
Yeah,
any time of year gin.
yeah, I can definitely see that. Don't go anywhere. More gin after the break. I'm at Wandering Distillery, where it's all things gin on the table. And what's next on this taste journey?
So the next one is our Nomad gin. London dry in style, but I say quintessentially an Australian dry gin because the citrus here comes from Geraldton wax, which is a native Australian plant, samphire and sea parsley for a bit of saltiness, and native thyme. Yeah, it's just a super versatile gin. It won a gold medal within 3 weeks of launch, and it is hugely popular. So
Lovely. And still
it's
the
fantastic.
classic juniper coming through as well with this
there's
one?
4 times as much juniper here as there was in our last year.
Okay.
So there's a heat. But
Great.
it's again super versatile.
Smells lovely. Oh, that's delicious. The label is also beautiful. The reverse side featuring Hutt Lagoon near Geraldton, a salt lake perfectly complementing the Geraldton wax. So that was the Australian botanical experience.
That's our Nomad gin. Yeah.
Nomad gin.
Yeah.
So where are we going to head at now?
So this is our navel gazing, and the idea with this is that Navy strength gins are, by European law, meant to be above 57%. So this is 57.6%, but you wouldn't know it. So with this one, we got flavour in on the first sip,
Wow.
and it's just yummy.
And how did you manage to get the flavour so fast in the first sip? Was it
Just luck.
blood extra?
Should we put it down to luck?
This label also pays homage to the gin's Navy strength inspiration.
We do often do a tasting of this against a globally mass-produced gin, insert name whichever here, and we say which is which, and no one's got it right yet. They always think this is the lower ABV one.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. We macerate the juniper for longer before we transfer it to the still, so
Okay.
it's already started more of its extraction before it hits the still.
I think this is like a great drink for someone who's quite true to gin, you know?
Yep.
I'm thinking my mother is a big gin drinker
Yeah.
and she would be like all
Yeah,
over
yeah.
this because it's got that complexity and it's a big flavour.
Yeah.
But also, yeah, martini.
And you can
Definitely
treat it as you would other neat spirits in a dash of water to open it up, or on the rocks or whatever, and just sip it, and it's yum.
It is. Well, cheers.
Cheers. So there's no garnish there.
Really opens it up.
Yeah.
It doesn't even need a garnish.
No.
All those big flavours,
Yeah.
just kind of a little bit more rounded with the tonic.
Yeah, and you could go with anything from rosemary. Sometimes I use pomegranate arils, and they sit in your drink and they make it pop and they bubble and fizz around, and they're delicious. So
Make
yeah.
any experience a bit special.
Yeah. So you can make it look great, or you can just go neat.
Go
if you
neat,
want.
go
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah.
Like it. Last up, the Wandering Star.
This was a happy accident. This was the first thing we distilled when we got our license, and it has a little bit of star anise. It was actually on the path to creating what became our signature gin. So it has a little star anise in it. Star anise is one of those things that is a gift that keeps on giving. Some people hate aniseed and licoricey style flavours, but I think from where we started, we pared it back and pared it back and pared it back and pared it back, and realised how little star anise you need in things to create an impact. But if you like a Negroni, it takes your Negroni down kind of an interesting path.
Yep.
Creates an old school dry G&T, which is delicious.
Definitely can smell a little bit of the...
A little bit of anise there, or
Little bit
the aniseedy sort of
Yeah.
element, but have a sip neat, and then we'll grab some tonic.
Oh, so different. It's really delicious.
Thank you.
A little bit more dry in the mouth
Yes.
than the other ones.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
absolutely, it's still quite a big juicy flavours. I think if someone was scared of it, I would definitely recommend to take this anyway, because it's not that overpowering.
Yeah.
It really adds a really interesting, unique element to it.
We always say to people, they go, I hate star anise, I hate aniseed, whatever, I hate licorice. And you go, cool, try it neat, and then we'll do some other things with it. And then at this point, they're like, wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
I could definitely stay here all afternoon, but I've got some serious ground to cover.
Well, thank you so much, Wade. This has been amazing.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks. Cheers.
Cheers.
Next time on Last Drinks, I'm heading down the coast to Busselton and I'm looking forward to everything on offer. We'll see you then.